Alright, hey guys, welcome back. So for this video, we're going to be using mostly drugstore products on the eyes, actually all drugstore products on the eyes, with the exception of, I believe, the mascara. I don't think that's drugstore, but we're going to be using the Coastal Scents 252 palette for all of the eyeshadow. And we're starting off with a light, warm beige color in the upper crease, and then a more chocolatey brown color in the actual fold of the eye. And I'm buffing that in just using a Royal Langnickel crease brush. Then going down in the warm red palette, I'm taking a slightly warmer tone brown and just sweeping that all over the lid. This has a little bit more red in it, and it's going to lay down a good base for the other colors that we use in just a second, like this deep burgundy. And I'm just buffing that in using a Bdellium Tools crease brush right in the outer V portion of the eye, and then sweeping the excess right onto the lid itself. Following that, we are going to just take a clean this is a Real Techniques brush. This is a clean crease brush, and I'm just buffing out the edges to make sure there's no harsh lines. And then I'm taking this very deep color. This is very similar to MAC Deep Damson, which I use all the time, so I love that this color is in this palette, and I'm just putting that right on the outer portion of the eye, right on the lid, and then I'm going to buff that out using a crease brush in just a second. Oh no, I'm going to go right on top of that using a red, but more on the, kind of bringing it closer to the middle of the eye. And this is a deep, deep matte red. This entire look is matte. Next, I'm taking the Morphe M433 and I'm just buffing out any harsh lines and kind of blending all those colors together. And then I'm going to use Sumita's Eye Base. This is something that I get in Birchbox, and I'm using this to lay down a sticky base for the colors. I should not have done this. I should have just used a NYX Jumbo Eye Pencil, but looking back, I made it work, so it's fine. And I'm taking a bright orange from the same tier palette. This palette has 3 tiers of shadows, and this is the red one. And I'm just packing on that orange color right on the center of the lid, and then taking this canary yellow right on the inner corner, and then kind of blending the two together with whatever's left on my brush, and making sure the colors blend all nicely together. Then I'm going to take a Morphe M433 again and just buff that out and make sure everything is nice and blended before highlighting my face, and I'm just going to make sure everything's nice and buffed out. And for my highlight, I'm using Trustique's highlight stick. Most of my face products are not from the drugstore, but I tried to keep the eyes as much as possible. But for my cream highlight, I'm just laying this down as a base before I bake on top of that using Hourglass Ambient Light. This is a new technique that I've been trying out and absolutely loving. It just gives the softest glow, and it just really, I don't know, it just makes the skin look really pretty. So I'm really packing that on and letting it sit before putting my bronzer on all over the skin, kind of buffing that away. And this is the NYX Matte Bronzer. And I've been really liking this bronzer. Actually, it gives a nice warmth to the skin. It's very nice and blendable. And then I'm going to set my under eye area using the LA Colors I Heart Makeup Contour Palette. I'm not wearing foundation, but I did have a very hydrating moisturizer on underneath, so I'm just setting these areas to make them matte. And my forehead as well. But then for the rest of my face, like the perimeters, I'm just taking my Luminous Light and just spreading that all over my face, just to make sure it is dry before going in with the rest of my bronzer. And this is a technique that I've really been liking because it lets me get away with looking like I'm wearing foundation without actually wearing it, because you guys know I hate foundation. And yeah, so I'm just putting on a little bit of blush. This is Berry Amore from Milani. It's one of their baked blushes. And then I'm going to contour using the medium taupe shade from the same palette, the LA Colors I Heart Makeup Contour palette. Oh my gosh, that name is so long. And I'm just buffing that into the hollows of the cheeks, making sure to keep most of the color focused towards the back of my ear, and then buffing it in towards the cheek, and then also taking that along the jawline to sculpt that out as well. Now for my actual highlight, I'm taking one from my line. This is a very pale champagne shade. It's really pretty and it goes really well with the hourglass on top of it, or underneath it, and I'm just brushing that on with a stippling brush, and I'm also going to take that on the other side of my face, my cupid's bow, and my nose as well. This highlight is very pigmented, so I only put a tiny bit. I don't really want it too reflective on my nose, but on my cheekbones I do go a little heavy when I'm doing tutorials or when I'm going to work at Sephora. And for my brows, I've actually been loving this stuff. This is the NYX Tame and Frame, the Tame and Frame, and this is the shade Dark Brown, I believe. This isn't black, and I've actually really been liking it. It does a nice job at keeping your brows in place because it has a very waxy texture, and it's a little bit less pigmented than the Anastasia Brow Pomade, so I find it's a little bit more forgiving. And yeah, it's $6, so I really like it. And then I'm just going to carve out my nose using the contour shade from that palette again. And then we are going to move on to the lower lash line. And I'm taking that deep aubergine shade that's similar to Deep Damson and just smudging that out using Bdellium Tools brush on the lower lash line. Mostly focusing this on the outer corner and then going on top of that with a black from the same palette. And I'm keeping this very close to the lower lash line, and then I'm also going to take a MAC 242 and just stamp this just in the outermost portion of the eye, trying to keep the red and orange as visible as absolutely possible. I just want this on the most outermost corner. And then I'm taking the M433 and just buffing that out, kind of in the wing shape, but not super sharp, mostly keeping it smoky. Then using the Shu Uemura S curler, I am going to curl my lashes before going in with the Marcel Extension Curl Mascara, I believe this is called. And this is the one that I don't think is from the drugstore. I think this is kind of expensive, but I really like this mascara, and it's a really good one. And I got it as a sample. So once that's done, I'm just taking a random pair of lashes that I don't use that often, and I'm cutting them up into smaller pieces so I can lay them down in not a full strip and more strategically. After doing this, I realized this was a little more tedious and less precise as I would have hoped it to be, so I should have lined my eyes prior. But we made it work, and it looks really pretty and give a nice butterfly effect as opposed to being too full like a full set would have given. And yeah, so this is the finished look, guys. I hope you enjoyed. It's matte for a change, and I'm going to model for you, and then that's about it.